I've got the dates when they departed. Got a book if you want to read it. So Iwo Jima. I've read several books, but they departed Maui and anchored off of Honolulu. So not far, and they gave shore leave to many of the Marines. And I speculate is that when he got his tattoo. I don't know. I wonder if that's when he got his tattoo on his left arm. Chances are he probably got it before that. But a lot of the guys were getting tattoos and doing a lot of other things they shouldn't have been doing because they were going into combat.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew exactly where they're going. They may have. But then they left there, and we're talking February, it was towards the end of January, and they sailed west, and they eventually ended up off the coast of Iwo Jima on let's see, the landing took place on the 19th. I think it was the 19th of February. But what happened on 15th
right after his
February?
birthday.
15th February, he turned 23. He
Yeah,
turned
so it was right
23,
after.
15 February. And so he hit the beaches on the 19th, third wave, 5th Division's over here, 4th Division's over here, Mount Suribachi's over here, and they've got some high cliffs over here where they had firing positions down onto the beaches from over here. And of course Suribachi and the ridges up there coming down, and their task was to hit the airfield. I think it was airfield number 2, and that's where they were heading. So he was probably stuck in a foxhole on the third day. I don't think they had not taken the airfield at that time. They were getting close, but the deaths and maim were highly significant.
He said there was only 3 people out of his
platoon
platoon.
that survived, and of course, when he was in that foxhole with a couple of buddies, that's when a mortar hit, and I'm assuming that was that same mortar that wounded him.
Yeah.
But it took their heads off. And Dad told Don that he was laying, he didn't think anybody was ever going to come get him. So he may have laid there another day.
With the friends.
I don't know. With the dead bodies, the bodies of his platoon mates.
Yeah.
In the hole. And those holes may not have been too deep, which is obviously wasn't deep enough. And
He said it was actually a crater.
Well,
He said it was actually.
yeah, it was probably a mortar crater,
oh.
or a mortar shell crater, or artillery crater that had been created there, which means another one can come right back in the same spot if it did.
Nice.
But then he was taken off, and I know there was a field hospital in Saipan, but they had the hospital ships right off the coast. So when they were triaging, the Marines and deciding who goes when, and they stick them in a landing craft and take them back to a hospital ship if that was the one available. And then they took him off. He eventually ended up in Hawaii at Tripler. I'm assuming Tripler, or there may have been some other hospitals around. There probably were. Tripler is still there, and it's huge, but to handle all those thousands, and that was, just one battle going on. And after he recovered from that is when they sent him to Saipan and became a military policeman. And he was there a good while. On Saipan through, let's see, the bomb was dropped in August of 45. Japanese surrendered not long after that. but he was still on Saipan. And he didn't get home. I think he transported home from Saipan and like on in May. I think he went to Lejeune, mustered out at Lejeune, and came home. And immediately started looking for Mama.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
That was, I think the only time I ever heard him talk about it was this was Matthew.
Yeah.
When Matthew was there. Matthew was.
I was just talking to him. I'll tell you what he was saying. He said that it was 20 years ago, so he wouldn't really remember all the details. He said he remembered Uncle Charlie telling him about which beach he stormed,
Yeah.
and that he had the book Flag of Our Fathers with him.
Yellow Beach,
I don't know that.
something I
but
can't remember, but yeah, he and Flag of Our Fathers was a
Matthew had that
significant
book
book.
with him,
You never
so-
read it, Craig.
And how old was Matthew then?
Well, Matthew is 27.
The author of
He's 28.
He'd be 28 in June.
Okay, so
You what?
he was 8 years old then? Or not quite. He's 10, probably 10.
Okay.
But he said that Uncle Charlie pointed to the maps in the book and told him about the places that were in the book. He said, I remember, he said he was down on the beach when they raised the flag.
Hmm.
He said, I don't know if I would remember much more than that.
Yeah. I was thinking that flag was raised a couple of days later, but he may have been down on the beach wounded.
So does that mean he saw it?
I don't. I'll ask him
Or
that.
how would he?
Well,
How else would he
it's
know?
hard.
He saw it.
How else would he
Hard to
know?
see it
Huh?
through
Wasn't it
all
on a elevated?
Yeah, it's elevated.
Yeah, it's on Suribachi.
Suribachi Mount.
So he could have seen it.
It was on the highest point on the island. And yes, it wasn't that far, because the island's not very big.
I
It's
do
only a couple
remember that
miles.
part of the conversation, because I'm not a history person, so most of it was foggy to me, but I
Yeah.
do remember him talking about that. I'm gonna see if he said
There
he
was a
could
lot
see
of
the
fog
flag.
about that. There were really two flag raisings.
Oh yeah.
One took place by some guys who happened to be there, and they had a flag they brought up, and then they reenacted that and raised a bigger flag. And the book Flags of Our Fathers was written by the son of a Marine Corps medic who was a Navy medic, right? Who had, at least in the book, and of course he's writing the story after his father passed away, John Bradley Jr. And he, his dad never talked about it, so he got interested, and his dad came home and became an undertaker, and was a medic in the Marines, or in the Navy for the Marines. And they originally thought that his dad was one of the guys who raised the flag that became, flag raising became famous, that a guy named Rosenberg took pictures of. But since then, in the last few years, they have discovered that no, John Bradley was not one of the guys, which
No.
is probably why he never told his son he was.
Yeah.
And his dad never talked about it. Just like most of the guys never talked about it. Just too much blood and death and mayhem and horrible things that happened there in the war.
I remember one guy, Ira Hayes.
Who?
Ira Hayes,
Ira Hayes was one of the guys who did raise
the
the flag.
Indian.
Yeah, and he became an alcoholic.
Right.
Yes.
Matthew says he doesn't think he remembers Uncle Charlie saying he could see the flag, but he doesn't remember 100%. He said, I don't think he could see it, but I don't remember 100%.
That's because he.
But he just knows where he was when it
If
happened.
he was
yeah.
on the, yeah, I'm trying to remember that I was thinking it was the fifth day that they raised the flag, that they took the hill. It may have been sooner. And if Dad was there on the beach, it may have been when they were hauling him off. I don't know how long he stayed on the beach. I don't think he was even told Don exactly how long.
Hi, Matthew.
Or Don doesn't remember.
You asked
I was
Don.
like, did he come?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was. And Mom, he never talked a whole lot about it to Mom, I don't guess.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Because I've asked her things, but you know, very few things he talked to me about. So I've had to dig what I could and research and what was happening, you know,
You
what
would
the
think
Marines
that
were
y'all,
doing.
he would have shared that camaraderie with you, being that he
Oh,
knew that you went through your own, you know,
Yeah,
your version
but
of
he
it.
just, you know, so many horrible things. I just finished reading another book about Korea, and a friend of mine gave it to me, and it was 1950, November, December of 1950. Where was he in November, December of 1950? He was in Camp Lejeune or Puerto Rico, refitting, retraining to go to Korea.
It's Camp
Oh, that's
Lejeune, and then a
Does
little
he-
while later, Puerto Rico.
Well, they went to Puerto Rico for training. They were doing beach landings in Puerto Rico, and as well as off the coast of North Carolina. But he was being trained to go into Korea, and I read that book and I said, "Thank you, Lord.
Yeah,
I'm here."
Yeah.
It wasn't just Iwo Jima. Korea was horrible.
yeah,
It's hard to be anything worse than like Iwo Jima or so many other islands, Peleliu, Iwo, Guadalcanal, you know, all of those. But and Korea was different because it was minus 25 degrees.
yep,
Minus 25 degrees.
horrible place.
It's so cold. This guy told the story to the writers, and it's off, not off color, but it is it's gross. But anyway, I mean, it was so cold that they were under attack. They had Chinese all around them. They killed most of their unit, but they were still fighting and holding out.
This is not, yeah, I was telling you, that's.
And, you know, he just had to go. He had to go. So he dropped his layers, and they weren't properly equipped. They had the wrong kind of clothes. Feet were all frozen. I mean, they were frostbite everywhere. Dropped his, you know, did his thing, and he was pulling, getting back dressed, and a sniper. It didn't hit him, but it made him fall backwards.
Yeah,
What did he fall backwards to? And he said, "Oh no, how am I gonna?
Yes,
This is so nasty." And he got up and he looked. It was already frozen. So he didn't have a problem with that.
yeah,
It was already frozen. That's how cold it was. The wounds, they were getting the reason some of them lived was because blood froze immediately.
Lord.
Bam.
wow.
And that
It's
closed
like their
up the
arm would
wound.
be damaged though.
Yeah, well, the frostbite was horrific.
Oh, that's how my uncle. So he was at Bell Bulge. He was thrown out of his tank. It was hit. I guess exploded.
Battle
Whatever.
Bulge.
Yeah.
It's cold,
And
but
so they moved out. But his buddy said, "We are not leaving till we find Ed." So they went back and they scoured and found him. And so his legs were cut, but he was in the snow, so it like sealed it. If I'm telling this story correctly.
and that's how Korea was, but it was different, you know. In Marine, it was hot and humid,
Yeah,
and they never had enough water. And if they got water, they put the water in old gasoline drums,
Word.
so everything tasted like gasoline.
mm,
And yet, that's all they had.
What were they gonna do?
You know, and it was bad. And we
Well, I mean, it's
can't-
bad enough when I
we
first
can't
had it.
Imagine.
When I had an MRE, I mean, I thought this was better after Katrina and had an MRE, and I just burst into tears. I said, I can't believe our soldiers are eating this. But that's like 100 zillion times worse.
It's kind of interesting what Matthew's, a little bit he is remembering.
Yeah.
We're both saying he was probably about 10 years old when this conversation happened.
Mhm.
So he remembers Yellow Beach, and he
It
knows
was
that
yellow, yeah.
he said that it was, Uncle Charlie told him it would be too far down to have been able to see the
Oh,
flag.
okay.
and he said he knows Uncle Charlie admitted important parts because he was so young. So he doesn't know about the injury and how long he might have been there. But he said he remembers him saying that he made it to one of the airfields.
That's field number 2, so I guess he got to there, and that's where maybe on the perimeter, and boom.
He said, I vaguely remember that Uncle Charlie had a book, and I'm pretty certain it had pictures of people he knew.
Oh,
It was in the sunroom.
Oh, that yearbook.
I got it.
Okay.
4th Marine Division book. And I've got other pictures. Most of the other pictures, I think when he was in Hawaii healing, he bought himself a camera and took back to Saipan with him. 'Cause
Yeah,
got a
I've
lot
seen a
of
bunch of those
pictures-
little snapshots.
Got a lot of pictures from Saipan.
Well, was he not missing in action? I mean, the story that Dawn tells
Yes.
about the relationship was very romantic
They
compared to when
notified-
she told it.
They notified Grandma that he had he was wounded and missing in action. Missing in action, and it was a while before, probably until he got back to Hawaii before they notified him, and it was in the papers, Savannah papers.
Because according to
and all.
Dawn, so that was part of the love story, so that Granny went up in the attic every day with her friends praying for Charlie. But Granny didn't ever recall
I
that
hadn't
in
heard
her
that
later
one.
years.
I hadn't heard that one.
Well, if you want a good romantic story, you'll get it from Dawn.
Okay.
But that's probably the true story. And then he came back and
Up in the attic, yeah. Who was that talking?
that's probably just her bedroom. Probably just Larry's bedroom.
Grandma
Great grandma
always giving me
living
dimes
up in
and
the attic.
nickels
Yeah.
for ice
And
cream.
she lived in the attic, and I'd forgotten that, there was an attic up there. I'm sure I'd been up there before.
But-
I think you went up there with me.
But that's not the same one that
She
y'all lived
gave you
in?
a dime.
I don't remember, only a dime, and she probably gave you a quarter.
No, a dime.
And then you took my dime, right?
Dimes and nickels.
Did you take my dime?
More than
No.
I
She could actually buy something with a dime or a nickel.
No, I didn't take your candy.
And the dimes were made of, they were valuable.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were real silver then, probably.
Yeah, we had a librarian friend, and she said kids would come in to photocopy stuff for their grandmothers or their moms. This is 20 years ago, and they would just be dumping
What
these
else you
dimes
say?
in the copier
Shooting
machine.
the other stuff?
He says he remembers that there was a picture of a mortar team that he pointed out,
Oh, he did? Point
and
the
he
mortar?
said that it's been so long ago, he thought if he flipped through the book, it might come back to him. And I told him that you probably would enjoy that conversation one day.
Yeah.
The boys always had the brain of an elephant, so I knew he'd remember more than I would. But,
Yeah, and then trying to recall it, more comes back, I guess.
but all that information was always very important to Matthew. He always loved history. And,
Oh.
even at a young age, I gave up on trying to shield him from any more movies or information.
Hello. We have a question. It has to do with lip gloss
Okay.
or something on her lips.
I was actually I brought in the mouth care thing and I used they have little
Oh.
packets.
Yeah.
She
She said no.
clamps down. So I did the best I could to get some moisturizing. I got once in there because I did a sneak attack. She didn't care for that very much. But we also have these little gel packs in there.
Yeah.
But I had meant to, we have like a lip balm, and it's actually a pretty decent lip balm that I can grab to. But the gel packs, the little gel that's in there, some moisturizing gel that helps to keep
Yeah.
things moist. And you can use that on the lips too.
Yeah.
So I try to put it anywhere I can. I was
Yeah.
trying to get the roof of her mouth because that's uncomfortable when it gets
Yeah.
dry. But yeah, I can definitely grab her a lip balm to put on her lips.
She's been moving so much and talking tonight. Not just the like
Oh, just like making
talking
noises.
sounds,
Mhm.
not just like groaning or
When
other
I came
gurgling.
in and said hi to her, her eyes were open, and I said hey, and it was like a mimic hi back.
Yeah.
I mean,
So why would you don't have any explanation of why she's becoming more active now than she was in the beginning? Is there like a healing process going on at the same time that other stuff is going on?
Without another scan, I wouldn't know, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all know that